I liked Captain Marvel, but whoever runs the Blockbuster in the movie deserves to be fired.
Blockbuster Video. Wow, what a difference!
Hey, Chris Bager here. It's been a while, so here's a quick video to let you know I'm alive. I just saw Captain Marvel, and I liked it. But there was one thing about it that really bugged me. You can tell because my voice is super serious right now. As a former employee of Blockbuster Video from 1994 through 1997, I've got a few things to say about how poorly the store in the movie was run. But what would this channel be if I didn't tie something from the film to video games? Before we get to the Blockbuster stuff, here's some fun trivia for you. There's a pretty good chance you played as Captain Marvel, well, Ms. Marvel back then, in her very first video game appearance, that being Marvel Ultimate Alliance in 2006. But did you know that no fewer than 5 other Kree in the film predate her first game appearance by a full decade?
Marvel Comics Avengers in Galactic Storm!
By all accounts, Avengers in Galactic Storm from Data East is a pretty bad fighting game. I'm not even convinced that anyone in the United States played it outside of a California test market. Outside of Captain America, there's probably no one in the game you really want to play as unless you're a huge Black Knight or Thunderstrike fan, and that's because the game basically adapts a story called Avengers in Galactic Storm from the comics of the day, which wasn't exactly an all-star lineup like we've had in the Avengers movies. Basically, the Avengers involved themselves in a skirmish between the Kree and the Shi'ar Empire. So many of the combatants you see in the game are the same Kree characters that appear in Captain Marvel. Actually playable in the game, we have Minerva, known as Dr. Minerva, Korath,
Who?
and the android form of the Supreme Intelligence, which is also known as Supremor. And in case you're wondering what the Supreme Intelligence actually looks like because the movie doesn't tell us, it's the big mad ball showing up on the screen back there. Yeah, I'd rather look at a net binning too. One new idea Galactic Storm did bring to the table was that of assist characters, which of course would become a staple of Marvel vs. Capcom games to come. And you didn't really want to directly control Thor and Iron Man, did you? They're obviously right on par with the likes of Ronin and Atlas.
Nobody has the movie I want.
You're probably not going to find Collierville, Tennessee near Memphis on an actual Atlas, but if you went there in 1995, I was your friendly neighborhood Blockbuster employee. My friend Dan Gavosden of the Amazing Spider Talk recently tweeted how impressed he was by the Blockbuster scene in Captain Marvel. I was a bit of a killjoy, responding that yes, aesthetically it looked good, but as a fellow Blockbuster employee myself, I have some serious issues with the store's management decisions. I promised more on that for you, Dan. So here you go. First, let me say, I'm going to assume that there are no anachronisms in this movie. If you're really nitpicky, there are some, but you can probably win a Marvel No Prize by thinking of alternate ways that everything fits in there. But it kind of all comes down to the appearance of one movie in the background, that being First Night. This right here is probably the most I've ever spoken of that film, which was okay, I guess. It came out theatrically July 1995. And unlike today, it took more than 3 or 4 months for movies to go from the theater screen to the home screen. Specifically, that puts this movie as December 12th, 1995 or later. And we do know that it is 1995 because 1989 was 6 years ago. The Smashing Pumpkins ads we see also make a lot of sense because that just came out a couple months ago in October. It complicates the awesome cameo we get because Mallrats came out theatrically in October 1995. But we'll just say that Stan really liked his appearance in the film and was reliving it by reading the script again. Sure, why not? But back to the Blockbuster. Now that we know it's December 1995, hey, Blockbuster manager, where are all of your holiday decorations? Surely you'll put a wreath in the window or something. That's one little point against you, but it gets worse. As seen in the film, Carol is in a typical Blockbuster aisle. We see 3 movies behind her in this order left to right: The Hudsucker Proxy, Hook, and First Night. This very fact alone makes that store manager worth firing for several reasons. First, just basic alphabetical order. I mean, I guess I understand it if Hook and the Hudsucker Proxy got misplaced a little bit, but it's pretty obvious that First Night should not go there. Even if it was misplaced by a customer, If you're running your store right, your employees will have picked up on that before the store closes and made everything right for opening the next day. I guess I'm assuming your other employees are competent, so here's another point against you, store manager. As we all know, First Night is a brand new release. You've got one copy of it. Say what you will about Blockbuster coming in and running all the little guys out of town, but the reason it did that was because it had so many copies of new releases. In fact, they filled the back wall. Yeah, the back wall. The aisle that Carol is standing in is not the back wall. The back wall has all of the new releases like First Night, which is where this movie should be if your store were run well. For a movie like First Night, you're looking at least 2 rows of tapes lining the back wall. None in the aisle where Carol is. And even looking past the new release wall and looking past the bad alphabetical order, these 3 movies don't belong together in an aisle in the first place. First Night should be in the drama section, maybe the action section. Hudsucker Proxy could maybe join it in the drama section, but it's more of a comedy. Likewise, Hook could maybe join it in an action section, but I'd put it in family. And finally, it was pretty amusing when Carol used her concussive blast to destroy the True Lies point of purchase display. We called them POPs in the biz. But a good Blockbuster manager would have retired that months ago. True Lies came out on video in January 1995, and we're in December. Those things last like 3 to 5 months tops, even for good movies, which True Lies was. Movies like Crimson Tide, Apollo 13, or even the THX Star Wars re-releases would have been much more convincing for that time. But riddle me this, you know what really would have brought the house down?
Courage now, truth always. Batman forever.
But for all we know, this store manager didn't even carry Batman Forever. Sorry, pal.
You're fired.
What did you think of the Blockbuster and Captain Marvel? What did you think of Captain Marvel in general? And have you ever seen Avengers and Galactic Storm out in the wild? I'm betting you haven't. Let me know in the comments. I've got a couple other videos in the works that'll hit one of these days, so please, follow Spider-Ham's advice. I'll see you next time.